Why are so many of the sim racing YouTube channels glazing and being so excited over Assetto Corsa Rally? It might seem very disproportionate and a little bit weird. Well, that is what we're going to discuss in this video. Before you do, make sure you subscribe to have the power to be able to unsubscribe. You can click the like button, don't know what it does, and as always, thanks to all the channel members, donors, supporters. Without you, we couldn't make 10 Assetto Corsa Rally videos in a row. It's a new record, and we will move to something else very soon. So, if you've been on the YouTubeals and you've seen the state of sim racing on the YouTubeals, it's all Assetto Corsa Rally, it's amazing, Assetto Corsa Rally, Assetto Corsa Rally, and I think it is a little bit disproportionate to the game that it is in many ways. You know, it's a nice early access, it's great fun, I'm loving it, I'm hyping it as well, I really like it, but you know, if you're being really objective and you look at what's available and other stuff, the hype for it is a little bit disproportionate. But what has caused this disproportionate hype? Well, I think what's caused it is the fact that the last 5 or 6 years of sim racing software has been atrocious. Like, it's been so bad, and it's all been really focused on bloody GT3 car, track racing, and modern vehicles on the same track. Spa, Monza, Sebring. Not that it's terrible, not that those things are bad, and not that you can't have a lot of fun, but if you've been around sim racing for 10 plus years, which a lot of the older sim racing YouTube channels have, you can't help but have a fatigue to the just repetitive, constant push of the same content over and over again. And that content basically being in many ways worse than stuff that came out 10 years ago. It's not that things are the same content but it's polished, it's that it's the same content and in many ways worse force feedback, worse physics, maybe better graphics, maybe some other features, but nothing that really actually elevates things to the next level. So when you have something like Assetto Corsa Rally come out, it's immediately clear when you first load that game up that the developers are on the sort of sim racing mindset page in their brains. They're clearly making a game that's about raw driving passion, and it's not just restricted around that modern video game framework. I also think with the older YouTubers as well, again, we're just so desperate to have that same feeling of when you played Richard Burns Rally for the first time, or when you played the original Assetto Corsa, or even stuff like GTR. You know, there's just a real desperation for that, what is a kind of archetypal racing simulator game that comes from someone building a game or a company building a game more out of a raw passion for what is sort of pure sim racing, rather than it being a sort of corporate approach of, oh look, GT3 cars are selling well, Spa, Monza, Sebring, well, we need to put those in. You know, it just feels more like more passionate. That's not to say that the people working on many of the modern simulators aren't passionate and they're not putting really good work in. They are. They're doing a really good job. But, you know, it's just really not quite getting that same, it doesn't have the same panache that those older simulators had. And then I think if you're a sort of pure sim racer or a hardcore sim racer, what you're really looking for is driving and driving mechanics. The online competition that you can have in iRacing, LMU and Race Room Rank Racing, that's great, but you're not really playing those games for the raw driving mechanics. It's as much the racing and competing, which is a fantastic part of sim racing, but it's not really necessarily about the raw car mechanics. Probably should be, and that's something that's very lacking, but you know, those games can be carried by the competition. And rally games, basically the entirety of a rally game lives or dies on its handling mechanics. That rally driving is a pure driving activity, and so I think that's why, I mean, it's the case for me, why a good rally game is so exciting. If you're passionate about car handling, manoeuvring and dancing a vehicle, well, rally is where you're going to get that. And then seeing something like Assetto Corsa Rally, where they're trying to make a really serious attempt at that, is basically someone trying to meet the needs of what you want as someone that likes to drive cars, right? Finally, two crucial components with Assetto Corsa Rally, and I've not seen many people really highlight this. One thing, the audio in Assetto Corsa Rally is absolutely phenomenal. Very few games do you want to just keep turning the volume up just to enjoy the sound of the engine or the collisions with the road surface, the tyres and everything. But Assetto Corsa Rally sounds phenomenal. I will say Dirt Rally as well actually had really awesome sound. So the sound design, I think, really gets you into it, and its sound cannot be understated. It's one of the most important things in film, in anything really. Audio, it's so important, and I think they seem to be doing a really good job so far. And then, crucially as well, on the content side, there's so many awesome vintage rally cars in Assetto Corsa Rally. Already, they've already got a good selection of vintage cars. And that is just something that's been really lacking from modern racing simulators and racing games, are very high quality vintage cars. And even in rally titles, I know Dirt Rally has had some good vintage cars as well. And obviously you can play Richard Burns Rally with mods and things, and AC with mods. But in terms of a new title, it's a launch title with new graphics, new everything, you know, it's been a bit lacking for vintage vehicles that are well made. So combine the vintage vehicles with awesome rally handling, with amazing sound, and then grass. You can't go wrong without the grass. And, you know, that's pure excitement. So, again, I do think the hype has been a little bit disproportionate with Assetto Corsa Rally. And I do also feel like Supernova Games have really benefited from some interesting dynamics of the overall space in sim racing and the general feel and sense that people are in. That's not necessarily entirely rational, but so be it. It's great to see a game that I think is pushing in the right direction. Might not be perfect, but we need more of this. We need more passion and more energy in sim racing. So hopefully that explains the insanity that's going on around Assetto Corsa Rally. That is Assetto Corsa Rally video number 10. And, well, there you go. We're going to do something else soon. But until the next one, let me know if you agree with me in the comments. Happy to